Hey, David Taub here, co-creator of NextLevelGuitar.com. Thanks for joining us. I've been getting a lot of emails about live sound and how to make my guitar cut through the mix better, and why is my guitar sound just disappearing in a band situation or in a live situation. Where did my guitar go, right? The title of this video. And I think I can help you with this because there's a few things, three big tips I'm going to give you today that I guarantee you will make a difference, right, in your live sound. And by the way, if you're wondering what this thing is on my neck and why I look so stupid today, I cut myself shaving really bad, so I've been bleeding like a stuck pig. So I just threw some TP on there to kind of coagulate it a bit. So anyway, and let me give you a scenario. You get this great guitar tone dialed up in your basement or in your bedroom. Sounds incredible. You've been working on your tone for a long time, watching YouTube videos, maybe getting some ideas on settings, really dialing it in. Sounds great. You set up at band rehearsal, you go and you start playing, all of a sudden, poof, your guitar is just gone. It's just sucked out of the mix. You can't hear yourself at all. The guitar tone is just evaporated, right? Perplexing, confusing, befuddled, right? You all of a sudden your mix is just totally gone. You can't hear yourself. You can't hear your guitar. It's for some reason not cutting through. What's the first thing you do? You go over to your amp and you start raising the volume. That's what happens to so many people. They start raising the volume. So then what happens after that? Well, now the bass player can't hear themselves. They raise their volume. The stage volume, rehearsal volume starts to really get higher. So then what happens? The singer now can't hear themselves, so they start screaming. Now they're taking the risk of throwing their voice out. On top of that, your volume has now gotten out of control where it's way too loud. And it's a massive problem because you're going for the volume when really it's not a volume issue. It's an EQ and gain issue. That's why your guitar probably is not cutting through that mix. So I think I can really help you with that and how to make your guitar cut through the mix. And I'm going to give you three really good tips that if you follow these, at least try them, I guarantee you they will make a difference. I guarantee it. But you just have to have an open mind. You just have to open mind and try these things. Okay? And if you get a second, please subscribe to the channel too, because that really helps us. It really helps us to keep bringing the content, keep bringing the good stuff here at Next Level Guitar, rock on good people. So if you could subscribe, maybe if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, leave some comments below, we'll get some dialogue going, okay? All right, so the first thing is you have to understand when you're playing in a live band situation that there's only so much sonic space, right? So think of it like this big rectangle of frequencies. And we're going to be talking a lot about EQ settings. And what I mean by that is your bass, mid, and treble settings of your guitar. So the guitar is really more of a mid-range instrument, okay? So if you, again, think of it like this big spectrum of sound, and there's only so much sonic space when you're playing in a band. You got drums, you got vocals, you got maybe keyboards, maybe another guitar player, and you're all fighting for that sonic space, right? So how can you cut through? And keep in mind, it's about getting the best sound for the band, getting your band to sound the best, not necessarily the guitar. Of course you want that too, but getting an overall good band sound, right? That's where it's at. Okay, so the guitar sits more in the mid-range, because think about it. The drums are more of a low and a high, some mids, but the kick drum, that's a low, more low frequencies. The cymbals, definitely more high. The snare, more highs. The toms, a little bit of mids, but basically drums more lows and highs. The bass, definitely taking up the lows. Your guitar, it's sitting in that middle. Okay, so your mid-range frequencies is critical for cutting through. Now I know starting like in the 80s or 90s, guitarists started scooping all the mids out of their guitars, and everybody really likes that sound, or many people like that sound. They're still going with it today. It started that whole, on your EQ, that whole smile, putting that smiley face in, or what did someone call it once? The stoner smile. I thought that was pretty cool. A crooked smile, right? Or if you're running that hard V, right, where the mids are just sucked out, that's a huge problem, because if you take all your mids out of your sound, remember your guitar is more of the mid-range, and you need those mid-range frequencies to be heard. No mids means you're just going to get lost. That's part of the problem. So the number one thing I want you to try, and again, just try this, is get those mids cranked up. And again, I know you loved your scoop mid-tone, but just try this, because it's really, overall, if you do these things, it's going to make your guitar punchier, more assertive, and it's going to really make you cut through. It's going to sound tighter. It really is. Just try it. So crank those mids up. I have a couple live rigs. One of my favorite live rigs now, I use a Mesa Boogie Mark 5. My mids, if it's 0 to 10, 12 o'clock is halfway, like 5. My mids are usually like at, 2, 3 o'clock. I have them on like 7. Really crank those mids. And if you're running a graphic EQ like I am also, and you run that V, that's okay, but move the V up so you're not sucking all the mids out. Get that middle slider up higher, all right? And really add mids to the sounds. It'll make a big difference. Second thing, and I know you're gonna hate this, but the gain. I want you to turn the gain down a little bit. If you guys are running and gals are running real high gain amps and you have that gain cranked all the way, dimed, I want you to back it off and just try this, at least for your rhythm sound. Now, I'm not talking about your lead sound because you're probably going to boost that anyway, volume-wise, to be heard, right? But you really want to take some of that gain out. That combined with the higher level of mid-range is really going to punch you through the mix. Definitely. Now, I know that kind of runs against the grain on a lot of guys and gals because you want that gain, you want that super saturated sound, and you really want it, and it sounds so good in your bass. But remember, live setting requires different EQ setup than playing at home. You're still going to have tons of sustain. And remember, I'm not talking about your lead channel. This is your rhythm channel. Just try it. I'm telling you. Turn the gain down to like 12 o'clock, like halfway that you normally would have it. If it's at dimed, cut it back to 12. It's going to be so much punchier. You're going to find it'll be less flubby probably too, and tighter, a lot tighter. Okay, so those are two critical things that I want you to try. Put the mids in there, crank those mids, turn the gain down. And remember too, one thing, that you don't have to have a super loud, huge stage volume. You want your amp, your guitar amp, basically, especially if you're mic'd and it's coming through the PA, you just want it loud enough to be heard over the drums, loud enough so you hear yourself. When the volume on stage is lower, the band is going to sound better and things are going to cut through better. Believe me, it doesn't need to be ear-splitting volume. Now, I'm not talking about if you're using in-ears and getting a super quiet sound, because I think for energy-wise, you want that air moving around on stage and you want it at a certain volume level, right, to feel it in your chest. I love that, feeling that. But, you want to balance. You don't want it too loud. You don't want to, the people in the audience to be like, oh my God, this is too loud. If you're playing in a bar, the servers are not able to hear the customers order drinks. That's bad. As well as a little quieter on stage. The whole band is going to sound better. Believe me, just try it. And the third thing that I think is critical, and this is a big problem I see a lot of guitar players. What they do is they get their amp, their speaker cabinet, whatever. They get to rehearsal, they put it on the floor, and they start to play, and they're wondering why they're not hearing themselves. Besides the EQ, the mid-range, besides the volume, the other thing is where your speaker cabinet is blowing out that sound. If it's on the floor, no good, because what's happening is, all the sound you're hearing, you're standing in front of it, is hitting you in the back of the knees. You're not truly hearing what's going on there. You got to get your cabinet up in the air. Speaker cabinets, especially closed back cabinets, are very directional sounding. And you probably know this, right? Because if you're standing in front of the cab, take 4 steps to the left, you'll see how your sound drastically changes. Very directional. So the problem is, a lot of times, in order to hear all these things and to hear yourself better, you got to get that cabinet up in the air. 2 ways you could do that. Buy an amp stand. If you have a combo amp, buy an amp stand and one that tilts, right? So it's tilting back, so it's directing the sound towards your ears. This is critical. You want to get that speaker cabinet tilted. What I do is, a lot of times I use a 212 cabinet and a head when I play live. And I have a rolling flight case that I move the cabinet around. So I take the cabinet out of the case, I put the top of the case back on it, and then I put the cabinet on top of the case. So it's at my ear level, and then I put the head on top of that. So either get a case for your cabinet or get an amp stand. And this makes such a huge difference to have that sound coming at your ears so you can make the proper adjustments and you could hear yourself better. Get that amp angled back so it's blowing at your ears. If you have a 412 cabinet and it's on the floor, you got to do something. Maybe stick like a 2x4 under the front edge of the cabinet so at least it's tilted this way up and it's pointing more at your ears. This makes such a big difference. Another quick tip: if you're don't have your cabinet pointing directly at the sound man too. If you're running, front of house, if he's running the sound out of the PA, because again, that directional, if you're blaring and that cabinet's pointing at him and he's hearing mostly guitar on stage, he's going to turn you down in the overall mix. I'm telling you, you want to kind of have that cabinet, at least if you can, angle it a little bit away from the sound guy. And this isn't a knock on sound guys, because good sound guys, of course, are walking around and they're getting an overall, mix from various points. But still, you don't want that blaring right at them. So angle it a little bit and get it up in the air. Okay, there's 3 huge tips. I want you to try these things. I know they go against your your philosophy, against what you really want in your guitar tone, but I just want you to try them and then let me know your results. I guarantee if you try these 3 things, if you're having trouble with your sound cutting through the mix, with your guitar disappearing, you crank the mids, you lower your gain, and you get your cabinet up in the air at your ear level, I guarantee you they're going to make a difference. You're going to sound more assertive. You're going to sound punchier. You'll be amazed at the difference. And I'm not talking just don't move it a little bit. I'm talking crank those mids. I'm talking turn that gain down, okay, for your live setting. It's going to make a difference. Put your results in the comments below. Let me know how you like the video. Let me know your results. Let's talk about it. We'll get some discussion going. And please subscribe to the channel. That really helps us, okay? And if you want some more information, I'll put some links in the YouTube description box on some free videos I have, some ebooks. Check them out. They're awesome and free. They'll really help you along your guitar journey. You can feel free to email us any questions. I'll put our Facebook link and email address in the YouTube description box. Check out our website, nextlevelguitar.com. There's over 2,000 videos, all levels of player, all styles, lots of stuff on gear. It's an incredible site. It's a huge archive. There's a 3 free-day all-access pass right on the home page. So give it a try. I'm David Taub with Next Level Guitar. Really appreciate you watching this. Let us know. Leave a comment. Let us know how your live sound is going. Remember, your guitar playing is an evolution. Take care. Keep on rocking.